Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Passing the Torch, a pro jeweler teaches with your friend, Steph the Jeweler. That's me. So, for those of you just joining us, I am a 31-year jeweler, bench jeweler, and jewelry designer. Work with fine jewelry, but I also do a ton of other stuff too. And we have been working on a sterling silver flower brooch with tourmalines we're going to set in it. I have a few videos through this process, so please check my other videos and start from the beginning so you can see how we actually are fabricating this thing. But here's the design that we are in process with, and it is taken this idea from a brooch from like one of Queen Elizabeth's treasures, the composition, but we are doing it in sterling silver and tourmalines. So customer wanted that, so it's a lot of fun we're going to use this composition and do our own version. We never copy, we are just always inspired by. Okay, so here is the main tourmaline. We will pull it out later to look at it. It's a beautiful light peach pinky tourmaline. And then I have a whole bag full of little 4mm tourmalines that are gorgeous. I get these from New York. Stunning. I got a vendor there that takes good care of me. So many gorgeous colors. So we'll look through there and pick the other three that we're going to use for this project. So here it is in process. It looks very flat right now. The petals do. But as you can see, we are in the process of fabricating. This is going to be a brooch, but can also be worn as a pendant. And in the other videos, I show you how we have fabricated this from cutting it out to soldering it. And you can see where the big stone will be and 3 little stones. And then if you notice, I have 3 other little heads, one here, one down here, and one down here. And then I'm going to have some little white CZs sitting there for a little sparkle, diamond looking sparkle, and it'll draw your eyes to the outside of this brooch. So we are going to sculpt the petals. We're going to set some stones. We're going to do so with the leaves as well. So we have 2 more leaves to attach. One fell off on me. That was, let's see, right here. So we're going to reattach that guy. And then I had been saving this one over here for this stem because what I want to do is stamp my name and the metal that we're using, which is sterling silver. You always need to mark your work, whether it's gold, silver, what alloy it is. Is it 14 karat? Is it 10 karat? Is it sterling silver? And so we're going to mark the back of the leaf. All high-end things are marked, or they should be, which is really cool, unless they're very old. You can see here's a bud on this end here. That's what we're working on too. We're going to sculpt that. So it's going to take a while. It's been a long project, but I think it'll be worth it when it's done. So we'll put that here for now on our bench pen. This is our torch. It is an oxygen propane torch. This is all just for your entertainment right now, guys. I have not taught you how to use a torch. You need to be super careful so you don't burn your house down and hurt yourself. So today is just a video for you to watch and learn. And another time, I'm going to actually start some online courses. I think that might be fun if you're interested in teaching you how to be a jeweler and a metalsmith. It might be something fun for a career for you. It's been a long and fun career for me. So that's why I'm calling it Passing the Torch. I think it's time to teach people how to do it too. So this is a brass block. You've heard of steel blocks. This was a brass block. A brass block. That's so hard to say. Okay, you can see that there's divots in here. This is all for stamping rings and such. And you would actually, here's my wedding ring that we did. I'm going to take it off. And you can see what you would do to stamp is you would fit this is called the shank, the ring part, into one of these little divots so that it'll hold it so that when you stamp, this is a bent ring stamp, but it's the only one I use. I just buy one thing and I use it for everything. So you would actually put your ring in your stamp like this, and when you hit it with a hammer, it would put whatever your marking is onto the inside of the ring. So nowadays sometimes they laser engrave it, but I like to stamp because it makes a deeper impression. It really holds in there very nicely. Over time, sometimes the laser engraving, because it's not very deep, wears off. So I like to stamp. I'll put my ring back on here. All right. So the bigger leaf is the one that fell off. So I'm going to go ahead and wait on that guy. But this little leaf here is our is the one that we're going to mark. And you always mark it on the back, not on the front. Although English and some European jewelry is marked on the outside of the shank. So that's really interesting. If you ever see that, that means it's antique and it's European. So that's kind of cool. Lots of weird fun facts I share with you in these classes. Okay, so I am going to take out my hammer. This is a ball peen hammer with a nice flat edge there. It's got the round edge for the other side. So we're going to need this guy. And then also what I want to do is I'm going to use my flex shaft, which is kind of like a Dremel tool. This is, you know, there's a pedal underneath like a sewing machine. And it takes care, it controls whether I go slow or fast. This is a sanding drum that I made myself. You can buy them, but it's so much easier to make them yourself and cheaper. And in another video, I'll show you how to do that. But what you want to do is be sure your surface is free of any, you know, marks, and it's nice and smooth before you do your stamping. So I like to give it a light sand. We'll do more work on that later, but do you see the difference? I don't know if you can see. I'm going to get better equipment as time goes by. We're just getting started on our YouTube journey right now, but you can see the difference. And where it's just, you hit it and just make it nice and smooth. Well, I'm doing this side as well, the other half of the leaf, just to kind of be sure we don't have too many marks or anything like that. Okay, so now we're going to put it on our bench pen, face up, the sanded side up, because technically that's the back. We're going to stamp it and make our name on there. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this bent stamp, and if you look in reverse, I'll put it up as, I don't know if you can see it with this darn camera. You see how there's letters on the end of there? Can you see? It's reverse for Steph, because I am Steph the jeweler. So I have a little copyright mark, and then it says Steph. So we're going to start there. I'm going to put it across the back on kind of like in the middle top. I'm going to hammer it, and I'm going to rock it. Because what I want to do is I'm going to rock it back and forth like this, back up and down and back and forth. So I can be sure that all the letters are done well. Now, if you hear noise in the background, I am working in the basement again. I know last video I said we would work on this more in the retail studio, but I have been so busy at the shop. We are working at night, actually in my basement and doing laundry. This is the life of a real jeweler who works for herself, because you got to get everything done at the same time and multitask. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start. As you can see, I'm placing it on my leaf, and then I'm going to start hammering and rocking at the same time. We'll get it started. I do it in the middle first, and then I will lift my hand up. It's hard for you to see, but I'm going to start moving it up and down and back and forth, so I can be sure to make a good impression on the metal. I think I got it all. I'm going to show you. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. You see how I made that impression on there? Let's see if I can get it in the light. It says Steph. I wonder if the camera would actually focus on that. Let's see. We're learning. Where do you put it so that it focuses on it? I don't know if it's hard to see or not, but there you can see it's a Steph, copyright Steph. Then underneath it, I am going to use another stamp, and this one has a 925 on it, and that numerical designation is for sterling silver, 925. So metals have not only, you know, sterling or SS, sometimes you might see that in a ring like for Mexico or something, but the numeric number 925 is sterling, 585 is 14 karat gold, 417 is 10 karat gold. Let's see, 750 is 18 karat gold. Platinum is usually PT or PLAT, and sometimes it depends on the way that the metal is alloyed, but it could be like 950 sometimes. So it just depends on what it's alloyed with. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing with the 925. I'm going to center it directly beneath my name stamp. So I'm going to rock it to be sure I get all the edges in a nice, clean, deep stamp. Okay, I'll show you this one. I'll get my stamps out of the way. Put it on my side table there. Let's see. Right underneath. So it's got Steph and then 925. So really, you're only going to see the front of this on the brooch. But on the back, when you flip it over, it'll have the marking. So in 100 years, they'll know that crazy girl, Steph the jeweler, made that brooch. It's over on Antiques Roadshow, right? So that'd be funny. I'm going to actually hammer that flat on the reverse side. Be sure it's nice and flat. And I'm also maybe going to give it a light sand too. Hold on just a second here. I have to put more solder on my bench block there. So we're going to give it a little bit of a sand on the other side, because it did kind of mar it up a little bit from being on that block. It's not the smoothest block. I need to work on that. I think what we'll do is, sometimes what I'll do is get a flat piece of sandpaper, as you can see here, and I will just put it on the nice flat surface, and the side that I want done, I'll just rub it back and forth. This is why my hands always look terrible. You'll never have a pretty manicure when you're a jeweler, but that's okay, because it's more fun to be a jeweler than to have pretty nails. So let's see. Oh, see, it's already starting to work real well, taking that down completely flat. And we're going to mark it up here in a little bit, making it look like a leaf, but there we go, that's better. All right. The only thing I can think about is when we assemble, we want to be sure that the name is upright properly and not upside down when we assemble it. So when you flip it over, you can read it and it's not upside down. So that's something to think about. Okay, so what we're going to do is, if you remember from other videos, if you watch the other ones, you'll know that I use different kinds of solder to solder this thing together. We have hard solder and easy solder, and they melt at different rates. What I did was a lot of the assembly in hard, because it melts at a higher temperature, and then this last bit I'm doing with easy solder. But we have many, many different solder seams on this guy. So I want to solder a leaf on here, and I want to solder a leaf on here. The problem is with sterling silver, you have to heat everything up so that one joint will solder. Now what that does is it heats up the other joints and they kind of fall apart. What we're going to do today is use a product. It's actually yellow ochre. It's what they make paint out of. It's an actual yellow ochre powder. You can look it up online, and it's like a pigment, but it also, I don't know if you can see, it's like a yellow pigment, and it's when you smash up those little balls, they are powder. But what it will do is So solder will not flow on a dirty seam. So if we intentionally dirty, usually we use all sorts of coatings to protect the silver from turning black when we're soldering on it to make it actually, the solder to flow and put it together. But a lot of times there are times where we want to dirty up the joint. That way it will not, hopefully will not move while we're working on the other end on a different solder seam. So we're going to intentionally dirty this up with yellow ochre. We're going to make a little paste real quick with some water. And for some of you that don't have yellow ochre yet, you could always use whiteout. But it does smell a little toxic, but you can use it in a pinch. Okay, this is like natural stuff, so it's not too bad. It doesn't smell or do anything weird. So let me open my little container here. And can you see the little pieces of yellow ochre in there? Isn't that something? So, and you can get it cheaply through Jewelry Supply, usually. Find a place, and I can help you with that too. Get you supplies and metals and gemstones and stuff, and tell you where to buy your tools. But for now, deal with all that later. So, here it is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to crush up a small piece of yellow ochre. It never goes bad, so that's good. It just kind of dries out for the next application. So what I did is with my little, it's kind of like a Q-tip in a way. It's like a little tiny one without a bunch of cotton. It's kind of small. Okay, do you see how I made some powder here? So what I'm going to do is we want it to be like a paste. So I'm going to get some water and just put a little drop or two where I want it. And you see how it's literally making a paste. You see that? And a little goes a long way. So what I'm going to do is take this paste and I'm going to intentionally dirty the solder seams that I don't want to flow. So I'm going to put a little here, and then we're going to put on, also we're going to add fire scale preventative too. But first things first, we're going to intentionally dirty up these little solder seams here. Can you see that? So when I solder, hopefully these little guys won't fall apart. It's a little preventative. I'm all about preventative. So I'm putting it on those seams that are near where I'm going to be. See? I need a little more water. And then this guy too. We want to do it right here as well because I'm going to heat that guy up. So I want to dirty that seam right there. And hopefully it won't fall apart. Because what we want to do is solder right on the end. Okay? We will be adding a brooch at the end, brooch pin, brooch findings. We'll be doing that too here pretty soon. So tonight I want to get this as finished up as I can except for the polishing. We might even do a little pre-polishing, but we'll do all our shaping and everything tonight too. So this might be a little journey you're on with me, but got to get it done for the customer. All right, so now I'm going to close up my ochre just a little bit because we're probably going to use it again here in a little bit. Okay, so this solution is my pickle, which is like kind of like an acid solution, and that when we're done soldering, we will actually put it into the acid to eat off the fire scale that we make, which is like when you heat something and it turns black. You know what I mean? That's called fire scale. We don't want that because when you have fire scale, you're not able to solder. And this is flux, which is a liquid glass. It's part of our preventative series to keep an area clean that we're soldering on. And then this is our fire scale. Now this is super duper flammable and very dangerous. It is denatured alcohol, which is a fuel basically, and powdered boric acid. And I always buy the boric acid from the Jewelry Supply and not getting it from, you can get it from like the hardware store, but the problem is that you don't know exactly what's in it at the hardware store, and this stuff is jewelry grade. It's technically like a roach poison. It's a powder you can put down and kill stuff, so isn't that nice? But we use it in jewelry as a fire scale preventative. So I will show how we're going to do that in a minute too. So what I want to do is prepare my leaves to solder on. Now where I attach it, I want the areas to be clean and fresh and ground flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my chuck, which is like a key, and it unscrews my, I'm taking off my sanding drum. So I'm going to unscrew it, lefty loosey, righty tighty, if you've ever heard that. And I'm going to put on, this is a sanding disc, and that makes a nice flat edge. Oh, that's a different size stem there. Let's turn it down a little, make it fit correctly. Oops, still a little wiggly. Tighten it down. There we go. That's a little better. Okay, and you don't only turn it just thumb tight. You just do it just so it's tight. You don't want it so tight that you have to crank it to undo it. Okay, so my leaves, I'm going to take the one we just stamped, and the edge where I want to solder it here, I'm going to grind it flat for two reasons. One, so that I have a nice edge, a nice connection for the solder to hang on to. And two, I want that to be a nice clean area, so it's nice and clean. And here's the other leaf, so I'm going to do the same thing there. Maybe that's part of why it fell off. It didn't have enough area to grab onto. And then the two areas that I'm going to solder right now, I want to grind that flat and be sure that that edge is nice and clean and flat and shiny. You see that little round there? You see right here is where I just ground. See how that's nice and clean and flat? I'm going to do that down here. Okay. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to coat this front and back with this boric acid solution. And again, it's highly, highly flammable. I'm going to move my little design that I showed you over to the side on the table here so we don't catch that on fire. And I'm going to coat this. Even the areas that we touched, we'll go over that a little bit. Put a little of this solution on, and what that solution does is I'm going to catch it on fire, and it's going to make like a real fine powdery coated surface, and it'll prevent too much of a buildup of fire scale. So as you can see, I'm just kind of being a little generous with it, and I'm going to wait just a second because it is very flammable, but it also will disperse on its own. It's what do you call it, evaporates. So I'm going to give it just a minute. It can evaporate a little bit, and then I'll catch it on fire just so we won't have too big of a flame on our bench. We are at the house, so we don't want to burn my house down. Now, we always put the lid on tight, and we push it all the way back at the back of the bench. So that way no flame can get near it. Kind of blowing on it a little bit. Okay, so now I always light my torch. You always light the gas first, very small, and then you add a little, slowly add the oxygen. I have weak hands because I've been doing this so long, kind of carpal tunnel a little bit. So I use my stand to help me with the lighting, but I have an electric lighter at work. So what I'm going to do is use this clicker, and you see how it has a little what do you call it? A flint that makes a spark. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the gas, and we haven't done it yet, so I'll have to prime it a little bit, let some gas into that end of the tube there. Okay, so I'm going to turn on just a little bit, and we'll see if it'll light. Yep. You see? Got a little flame there. Okay. So what I'm going to do is add a little more gas, make a little bit more of a flame, and then as I add the oxygen, slowly, I haven't turned it on yet. There we go. Slowly, it brings down the flame. Do you see that? Isn't that cool? It makes it nice and hot. You see that blue flame? So when I light this, I don't know if you can see it. I've got a slight flame there. You see it? And I will turn off these lights so maybe you can see them a little bit. Then I blow it out. Now, I do still have the yellow ochre on those seams. You see, there's still the yellow ochre there, which keeps it nice and dirty, which is a good thing. Now, I've showed you on previous videos, but sterling silver, you have to heat the whole thing for one area to flow. You have to try to keep heat going back up into the piece. So what I do is I use a charcoal block. And what I forgot to tell you on other videos is if you use a lot of heat on it, it will retain that heat. And sometimes you want to quench the block by taking a little water and pouring it in the middle to kind of douse whatever's going on inside that charcoal block. So here is where I want to put the first leaf, the big leaf, because from our picture, I'm going to show you, hopefully I don't catch on fire here. The picture of this bud has a little bit of a curvature, and that is what we cut out and we made a leaf. Let me get it, grab it here. As you can see, that has that curvature. See? So what I want to do is it'll be soldered on this way because I'm trying to match the picture. See? All right. So we're going to solder it on like this, though, because this branch is going to be bent and turned down and around to make it over here eventually. So, all right. So what I want to do is be sure I have some solder, and it looks like I have a couple pieces of solder already cut. I usually cut it from a sheet. I cut little pieces out, and I've got some on my bench, so I'm ready for that. Now we're going to put flux on. Now the flux is a liquid, like I said, that will turn to glass. We want to get it so that this flame is hot enough here. I'll turn it down a little bit. Can you see? There you go. But you can see that color. It's nice and blue. If it turns red, that's not a good thing. That means it will make a lot of fire scale. This is a nice, clean. Now, propane is a very, very dangerous gas because it is liquid. So you'll use those really tiny containers. It will last you forever. The tiny tanks that you can get at the hardware store. And then I use a big tank with the oxygen. But I'll teach you that on a course or something down the road. So what I'm going to do is heat this up just a little, and then I'm going to put the flux at the end, and it's going to bubble up and turn white. I don't know if you can see that. It kind of, let me pull it up to you. I'll take this leaf out. I don't know if you can see, it kind of has turned white at the end there. See, it bubbles up, and what that does is that protects that joint we're going to do. So other places may turn dark, but that should stay pretty light. I'm going to put it at the end of the other one too, and it'll bubble up, and then coat the area to keep it nice and clean. I'll put down my torch for a minute. I'm going to pick up this leaf and see where I'm going to place it here. I know it's hard for you guys to see. I apologize. I'm going to get one of those things you can look down from the top eventually. But for now, what I'm doing is putting that here, okay? So I'm going to put a little solder on the end, and then I'm going to place this leaf on, okay? I attach the solder to this stem first. And now I want to be careful not to hit all these prongs because I'm going to melt them. I'm going to kind of go in from the side like this so that the torch is not hitting all these little delicate prongs, okay? So I'm going to pick up a piece of solder on the end of my, you see how tiny that is, a little ball? Can you see that little ball there? That's a piece of solder. And this is called torch control. You have to be careful with your heat because the solder follows the heat. It will either stay together or fall apart depending on what your heat is. So I'm trying to heat the end of this and get that solder to melt just a little bit onto the end to attach itself. But I don't want it to run all the way down the stem. There we go. All right, now I'm going to grab my leaf and put it in my tweezers, and I'm going to put a little flux at the end of this. There we go. And maybe you can see here when I heat it, it turns white. Did you see that? I don't know. But anyway, so that protects it, and I have to heat both pieces simultaneously. Now the stem is a little thicker, so it should heat a little slower. So what I do is I put a little more heat on the stem than on the leaf because I want to heat them at the same rate, but I don't want to melt the leaf while I'm trying to heat the stem. The leaf will get hot by association because it's so close to it. There we go. Soldered just like that. It's on there. Isn't that something? All right, so now we have to move this so that I can get to that other leaf. So I think what I'm going to do is use my second hand, is what they call it, these clips, to hold this for me. Now I don't want to put the clip by the joint because what it'll do is it'll pull heat away. Can you see that? I'll turn it so you can see. You see how that looks there? This is where I'm going to put the other leaf, and that's the one that we put our name on. So I'm going to look at the leaf and be sure that when it's on there, the name will be facing right up, and it will. Okay, so I'm going to hold it just at the end, and then I'm going to attach this guy right there. Can you see that? Okay. Oh, here I go. I've already got the flux on the stem. I'm gonna put a little flux on this leaf. I heat it up just a tad. And just to show you again how the flux works, you see when I heat it, it kind of turns white. You see that? And if you hear laughing, that is my son upstairs playing video games. So I apologize if you hear cackling up there. This time I am putting a little solder. I attached it directly to the end of the leaf, the little ball. And then I'm going to heat this stem up. I kind of did it opposite last time. You just have to see what works best for your situation. So here I go. This is a thin little leaf and a big stem. I'm heating the stem. The leaf is getting hot by association. And hopefully here in a minute that'll go on. Let's see here. And I'm using the torch in such a way that it's not hitting anything except for the stem and leaf. Come on, guys. I'm gonna go. It wants to go. I'm just trying to get it hot enough. Come on. It's trying. Just doesn't want to get hot enough. There we go. It's because I have it up in the air and not on the charcoal block. But that's how we have to do it, so. Come on. There we go. It's on, but not a good solder. So let me get a little more heat because we want it to go well. Have a nice strong bond. So I'm using a little more heat. There we go. You might be able to hear the torch hiss. Now, do you see how this leaf is getting dark at the top? But down here where we have the flux, it's still nice and white. You see that? It means it's doing its job. It's keeping it clean. There we go. We just needed a little more heat. There we go. Yep. See, we just needed a little more heat because it wasn't on the charcoal block. You always turn off the oxygen first, then the gas. It'll make a real loud pop if you don't do it that way. So now we have it assembled. All right. What we want to do is I'm going to quench it real quick in the water. And then I'm going to throw it into the pickle. Now the pickle is for non-ferrous metals. So what that means is there's no iron in the metal. You know how steel has iron? What it does is it has a chemical reaction with the pickle and it'll plate everything pink and it's a big mess. You do not want that. So you only use copper tongs in your pickle, okay? So I'm just letting you know that. That's the only way to do it. You need to invest in some copper tongs. All right, it's good enough for now. I'm going to pull it out. Normally you let things sit in there, but we kept it nice and clean. See, it's not too bad. We still have our yellow ochre where we placed it, so that's pretty cool that it's stuck. Here we go. We got to get it out of there now. I'm going to use an old paper towel. Going to dry this off a little bit. Look at our work and be sure our solders are on there well. You can see that the yellow ochre is still there. Now it'll come off when I touch it with my finger. You see, it's coming off at the end there. So it comes right off. It's just a powder, but it really does its job. And you see, even though we used a lot of heat, except for you could see how clean this metal is. See, that's because we used our fire scale preventatives. Let me tell you, it's a big mess if you don't. It'll take forever. So that is a fine jeweler trick that they don't teach you in art school. It's a fine jeweler trick. That's kind of what my shtick is here. I am a fine jeweler, but I do have an art background. I took metals into college, and when I was young. I'm going to be 54, and I started when I was like 20. So that tells you how long I've been doing it. But, I took art school classes and stuff like that. It was awesome. And I learned about composition and all sorts of great stuff. But then I also have my industry knowledge too. So that's what I want to teach you guys is kind of a mix of both the art and the high-end jeweler skills. Okay, so now we're going to start moving things around and bending them and making them into a little piece of sculpture. So I'm going to turn these lights back on so you can see what I'm doing here. All right, see, ta-da, now you can see it. So what I wanted to do was to bend this stem over, because see from the picture, if you can see from this picture, the stem was supposed to be bent and over. And it gives a wonderful 3D kind of feel to it. It already has a lot of 3D in it, but that's kind of cool. So the thing is, anytime you bend something, if it's not a very strong bond, it will break. If it breaks, then we just resolder it, okay? Well, I was just letting you know. So I'm going to take this stem, and you always use pliers that are, do you see how there's no like ridges and marks on these pliers? This is a bent nose pliers I love. You don't want anything that can mar up the metal. Okay, so I'm very carefully bending. See how cool that looks? It looks so organic. I'm bending it around. And I think from the picture, it is beneath the bud. But again, we're doing our own version. I don't know, that bud is kind of low. Let's see if we can bend the bud up. Right now we're being artistic. We're trying to make things move forward and place things where we want them. Oop, I can feel that wants to break there. We're not going to push that anymore till we heat it up a little more. So we'll wait on this guy at the base there. I can feel that it wants to kind of break, brittle, All right. So, hey, look, I don't know if you can see, but you can see where my name is stamped on there and the numbers. Isn't that cool? That's the back. So it has a marking. I'm going to take this because it looks too straight, so it doesn't look organic. I'm going to bend that up. But it has a little bend to it. This will bend down and around. We got that little bud there. We've got our flowers. They are good. I can see that those are bent, kind of forward enough, because you could see in the back I did a little pre-bending. Then we have this branch, and I want to see more of it. So let's see if we can bend that guy so it goes up. Oh, and it broke off. See, doggone it. All right, so let's go ahead and do our soldering now, so that we can do more bending. But that's the nature of the beast. That's what happens. So let's grind that a little bit. It's been through a couple solders, so it probably just needs to be redone. But better to break now than on the customer, right? We want it to be good and strong for the customer. All right, so we're going to go ahead and coat these again with our boric acid. And really it's good that this kind of stuff happens to show you, hey, it happens to everybody, not just to you. So I'm going to flip them over. I'm going to do the front side first. I'm going to put some more of this stuff everywhere. And it's a good thing that we still have our yellow ochre where it's placed. Okay, and then I'm going to set a good example and use tweezers and not my fingers. I use my fingers all the time because I'm just lazy to grab the tweezers. Okay, so I'm going to coat this. Now we got to remember where it was. Okay, we put the lid on tight and we move it all the way to the back. We're going to turn on the gas just a little. I'm going to turn it on. My hands are kind of numb tonight. I'll turn that on. We're going to give it a light. Come on, baby. Use a little more gas. I always talk to inanimate objects, so there we go. Oops, there goes my stones. All right. I'm going to give it a little more gas, give it a little oxygen to bring that flame down. Okay, I'm going to turn off the lights so you can see all of the fireworks here. I don't know if you can see that that's on fire. Kind of cool. And it burns off the denatured alcohol and leaves this white coating and blow it out. All right, so where was that guy? It was there. Okay, so what we're gonna do, it was this leaf. Yeah, it was this leaf that was the joint when I was bending it was having issues. So let's go ahead and redo that guy there. Give it a little more solder. We're going to use the easy solder since we've done so many. Since we've done so many solders, we want to use this easy. So I'm going to take the sheet and I'm going to cut little lines across and then over, and it's going to make like little hatch marks, but it's going to cut off small pieces of solder. Now you see how I've got these lines there? And what I do is I put my finger on the other side because when you cut, they'll go flying. So if you put your finger here and then cut below, see they kind of stay on your finger, and then you can put it on your bench pen, okay? Alrighty then. Now, we do have some of the what do you call it? The ochre is on this joint, and we want it to flow. So I'm going to use this little piece of sandpaper and just take it off this joint because I do want the solder to flow there. All right, there we go. Took that off, and then we're going to put our flux on there, and that'll clean it up too. Okay, we'll start there, and I am going to get it, nice and hot as we saw last time. We needed a little heat. And I'm going to just put a piece of solder on this joint where it was a little suspect. It felt like it wanted to break. So what I'm going to do, and there's a little head there too. We want to be careful of that little head. There's always a chance you can have a meltdown, and that kind of happens. So we want to be careful. But okay, I'm going to take a little piece of solder, and I'm going to set it there on that edge. And I'm going to heat it up a little bit so it sticks. I'm going to actually flip this over because I don't want to melt those prongs. I think I'm going to do this from the back. The only problem is the way the leaf is, I don't want it to move. So I'm going to actually, since the little piece of solder is where it needs to be, which is good, maybe I'll get another little piece too, just for added strength. We'll put 2 pieces on there because that is a joint that we need. I'm going to hold this stem just so it stays in place, I don't want it to move. So what I'm going to do is use my heat to, there we go. Okay. I'm going to use my heat to guide the solder because the solder will follow the heat. So what I want to do is heat these 2 little pieces of metal. There we go. Yes, it worked. Holy heck. I'm so happy. Yep. Booyah. Worked. We were preventative. We did what we had to do. Now, this is turning red. Do you see that? That means a little something got on. There you go. Got a little piece of something in the way there. There we go. A little piece of debris got into the point. Okay, so now if you remember, I had that piece coming off of here. I want to solder that. But this flower, I believe, was soldered with hard, but I don't remember. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to intentionally dirty that joint again, just to be sure the big flower hopefully will not fall off. If we can dirty that joint up again, I'm going to get a little more yellow ochre with some water, and I'm going to paint it on there. I would prefer it if that guy did not fall off. So we're going to get a little more. Even though it's hot, it's going on, it's working. There we go. Okay, this is the joint that we want to, whoops, all right, I lost that piece. I'll pick it up later. Okay, to solder. All right, so I'm going to put a little bit of flux there. And then I did grind the end of that too, to be sure it is nice and clean and fresh again. Okay, we don't want it dirty or it won't work. I'm trying to decide what the front was because I don't remember. I think this is the front. So I'll flip it upside down when I attach. So what I want to do is I'm going to attach it here. Which side? Yeah, I want this. The nicer side should be faced up. So I think it's that one. Okay. So what I'm going to do is put that there. Now I do have these leaves here, don't I? I don't want those guys to fall off when I heat it up either, right? Well, why don't we dirty those seams as well? I know it takes a little time, you guys, but this is a complicated piece. And I want to do it in such a way that it's not going to fall apart. Let me dirty these two seams up here. And the clip is on the seam for the leaf and the stem here, and that's a heat sink. So that actually will keep it from, it won't get hot enough there to fall apart, which is good. Okay, so what I'm wanting to do is solder, that's the back, is the front. Okay, I'm going to solder him right here. Okay, so I put some flux there already, but I'm going to do another drop. I want it good and clean. And I put a drop, a nice big drop at the end of the stem, and you see, you might be able to see how it balls up and turns white when you heat it up. There you go, see? And then when it gets hot, it just kind of settles down and turns glassy, and that's what protects it. Okay, so there, I'm going to do it on the stem. I'm going to put some solder at the end of this stem. I'm going to ball it up with these little sheets. I'm going to put my visor down so I can see. Ball them up. I'm going to get a nice big piece. I know there's some solder on the stem, but not much on the original stem. There we go. So I got a little bit of solder on the end of this, okay? And I'm going to heat this stem up and place it back where we wanted it. And I'm going to kind of turn it at the angle I want it so I don't have to bend it too much, but as I wanted it to be seen more between the two flowers. So I'm going to put it at kind of at the angle where I want it, and let's start soldering. So we're going to heat up these two stems, and hopefully nothing will fall apart. We will see. If it does, we fix it. It's not easy, but it always is cool when it's done. We just have to use our preventatives. Looks like it's working. Boom. Ha ha. See? We got it. And do you see how those joints are black in there? Let's double check that this looks good up close. Yeah, I think it does. Yep. All right. I'm going to turn it off. First the oxygen, green for oxygen, red for fire. Okay, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Okay, and then I'm going to look at this guy and be sure it looks good. I think it does. All right, so we'll give it a quick quench in the water. And while it's still a little warm, we'll drop it in the pickle. I usually use cold pickle. You can get the pickle pots that are heated, but what happens is, and when a pickle is hot, it does work a little faster. But the problem is you're evaporating the solution into the air and you're breathing it. It's just nasty. So I usually use a cold pickle. And you mix it yourself from a granular, dry powder. And that's another thing I'll teach you in classes. But if you want to take them, if you want me to offer something like that, put it in the comments and let me know if that is something you'd enjoy. So but you guys will watch me do projects, and most of the projects I'm doing are for customers or for stock for the store or whatever. So these are actual jobs that I'm doing right now. All right, so for now, because we have to heat it up again to put the brooch parts on. So first we just want to see if we can get it where we want it sculpturally. So whoops, put it in the water to rinse off the pickle. And you can see I use my copper tongs to get it out. Here's my paper towel, so I'm going to give it a little dry here. And you see, isn't that amazing how even though we heated that up, I mean, look how clean that is. And we didn't even let it sit in there very long. Isn't that cool? I'm drying it off. I'm going to do that over here off camera so I can get a little closer to me. All right. So with the stem, we don't necessarily see these leaves back here, which is kind of a bummer, but you do when you move it around, and this is a 3D sculptural piece, so I guess that's pretty cool. All right, now let's bend it and see if the solder joints took, because I do want it to see if it'll work. So here, we'll bend this guy down a little more. Did it want to break or no? No, it's okay. See, I'm turning it a little at a time. What's it? Oh, I almost swore. Sorry. Sometimes I swear, and I'm gonna try not to on the video here. You know, when you're working with something and something makes a noise, it kind of freaks you out a little bit. All right. I don't know. This is how it was in the picture, but I don't know if I like it or not. What do you guys think? I don't know that I like that down there. We may have to remove it altogether because look, I mean, does it really do anything for the brooch? I don't know. It looks good when you on the drawing, but I don't know. Okay, so we've got this little stem with the bud here. Maybe we'll try to move that forward a little. Oops. Okay. We could put it behind that, but that would risk, you know, weakening the seam. I don't know if it's even really that necessary. You know, we're making something as we go. Gosh, I don't know that I'm that thrilled about it. We do have the flower, the leaves back here. That'll be here. Let's see, we could bend this guy a little bit. This flower. You know, this is part of the design process, seeing what you like, what you don't. Maybe this flower could go over a little more. Don't break that. Let's see if it shows those leaves a little more behind it. It does. You know, that's cool because you can kind of see it a little back here now. We could move these little guys up a little, but I don't know. I don't know. All right, so that's a bit, I don't know that I like this. What do you guys think? I'm thinking it takes away from what's going on here. So even though we just resoldered this guy on, I think I'm going to take it off. I think it's distracting. If we put it up in the middle, then you lose that elegant stem, which I really like. So even though that's a pretty vine, I'm going to try something. I'm going to try to maybe bring it up and see. So I need another pair of pliers. Let's see here. Sorry, I wasn't planning on this. Oh, here they are. Here. Okay, so maybe I'll hold this here to keep the strength of that joint. We don't want to, you know, after we just soldered it on, if we decide we do want to keep this. So what I'm going to do is then grab this part of the stem and bend it up and just see if we like it. But if we don't, I think we're going to take this guy off. But we'll give it one more chance here. So I'm going to try to bend it and see what I think. Hold on just a second. I'm going to get it properly supported. This is awkward to do it for the camera. And I'm marring it up. The sterling is very soft and I'm marring it up a little. I don't like that, but we can take that off. But all right, so now I'm bending it. It does look a little more organic, which is something we may want. See? And this bud, I don't know how I feel about this bud, you guys. I don't know. There we go. We're going to move it some more. The bud now and see if we like that or don't like that. So I'm going to support it from the back and then use these round noses to move that a little. Oh, it looks like that actually broke. That little, it's having some structural issues right here in this silver. So I will stop moving that bud and we'll put a little solder on there to fix that. So the question is though, before we do anything else, do we like this leaf here? I don't know that we do. I'm wondering if we shouldn't put another head on the end of it just for another piece of another piece of sparkle. Unless we bend this back. I know design is a process. It's not easy. It's not easy. But we love it. It's fun. Okay, so we've got a lot of layers going on here. I wonder what that would look like if I put it underneath the flower. Is that too much? I'm gonna pull that back a little. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, this bud just looks like it wants to come off totally. Oh, maybe the bud doesn't look that great there. I think it does though. We're gonna leave it. All right. Maybe we should fix the bud real quick before we start moving this guy around. All right, let's see if we can do that first. Fix. We need a structural integrity. Metal gets brittle. Now I'm using this kind of a noise canceling, background noise canceling microphone. And my furnace is kicking on now in my basement because it is cold outside. So that's kind of funny. Hopefully you can't hear it. And if you do, I'm sorry. All right, so let's turn this back on again. That's the thing about jewelry. You go back and forth with design and composition. You gotta make it perfect. That's kind of my thing, and I make things as perfect as I can. All right, I'm gonna put a little more solder in that bud, but I do want to dirty up that seam again where the bud hits that piece of wire there. I'm going to put a little bit of flux in that joint. And I think I have some more. Yeah, here's a little piece of solder, I think. Yeah, here's a little piece here. Do we need some more? Let's see if we can find another piece on the bench. Is that some there? Nope, I think I need a bigger piece. Let's cut another little piece of solder. Don't burn ourselves. All right. A little bit more to flow into that area. Give a little extra support so it doesn't break on us. But we still may change things up. I don't know yet. All right, so I need to put it on that block. I forgot to put it on our charcoal block. All right, I put the solder where I want it. I'll move the block, put it up on the block just to kind of reflect heat back up into it. Now, if that bud falls off, and maybe it's destiny, I don't know. Let's see. Because it's kind of like I'm heating the whole area, unfortunately, where the bud is attached to that wire. So hopefully it won't fall off. Oh boy, it's just bending. It's just been heated and bent. Okay, it worked. Yay, it worked. Okay. Well, now let's reevaluate. Put it in the pickle for a sec. All right, we'll reevaluate righty-tighty on our torch. All right, let's look and see. We just want to bend it. We want it to look organic, like a flower, you know. We want it to have that feel and have that look. Okay, now as we reevaluate. Okay, it looks like it's on there. All right, well, we will see, won't we? All right, now let's see what this leaf, bigger leaf, looks like if we put it behind the big flower. Let's see if it'll hold on. Slip it through the petals. See what I'm trying to do? Trying to kind of push it behind. Oh, it's such a big flower, a big leaf. It looked cool on the picture, but in 3D it's a little hard, isn't it? Let's see if we can get it to bend. Ugh. I just feel like that bent too easily. Does it look like it's gonna fall off? No, it's okay. All right. We'll move this underneath. Let's see, I'm gonna bend the leaf and see if I can get it under there. We gotta bend it anyway to make it look like a leaf, so we're gonna work it down. It keeps catching. Yay, we got it. Okay. So that leaf is now under there. Let's see what it will look like. We gotta get it under. It's on top of that other petal. Do you see? We gotta get it under there. We may still remove it totally, but I want to see what it looked like. It might be cool and give us another layer of interest. Huh. Okay. I don't hate it. We'll see. The more 3D, the more natural, the better. Yeah. Look at that. Because, when you look at a piece of art, it's an art. It's a wearable art. It's functional art. So, let's give it a chance and see once we make it look like a leaf if we like it or not. You can always take it off. Here, I bent it a little more so you could kind of see it. But I do like kind of the twisty vine thing going. Well, we'll see. We need to bend it down. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to hold this here. Let's see. Maybe we'll use these pliers. We will hold the stem firm so we don't break a seam again. And then let's take this wire. Hopefully it'll hold its structure and not break like the other one. There we go. See? So now we got a layer. We got this leaf here. I wonder if I could move that over a little. I'm going to hold it where I learned my lesson. Hold it at the joint. And then I'm going to use one here and then one here. I'm going to move it over. This is our name leaf. So maybe it'll peek out the side there. There you go. We got a leaf, bud. Now I need to see if I can move this bud, if it will hold itself. We need to kind of turn it and bring it out so you can see it. So we're getting there. We're getting there. We got leaves back here. The flowers are kind of hiding them, but when we turn it, we'll see them. So let's see. Let's bend this bud back and down. I'm going to hold it at the base here. And this is where we soldered it. So we will see if it worked or not. I'm going to bend it around and over. It worked so far. And then I want to bring it out a little bit. Let's see. Oh, it's scary. It's scary. It appears to still be there. We still have another solder function to put on our findings for the findings are the parts. If you can see here on my bench, I've got little parts. These are for the brooch findings. I don't know if you can see that. We've got little findings here. That's the little catch. You flip back and forth for the pin part. All right, so with the bud, one part of the leaf is sticking out, so I'm gonna kind of push that down a little of the petal, sticking out pretty far. I'm not sure that it's necessary, so we'll brought that down a little. Okay, so now it's time to start shaping the leaves, shaping the petals. I'm trying to decide how I want to do that. I do want some rippling, and then we will grind in some petal details and leaf details. I think that's what we're doing next. All right. I told you it would be a long video. Sorry about that. All right, so with this leaf, I'm going to roll the edge a little bit. You know, leaves are not flat. They have some dimension to them. We'll see if they don't break. I'm rolling the leaf a little. Do you see how it's got a little bit of a organic bend in it now? So I'm doing that over here too. Bend those edges. So it has a little bit of a bendy to it. I'm going to do that to our name leaf here at the back. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this because we're, you know, not charging a whole lot, and this is getting expensive as the amount of time we're using is incredible on this guy. But it's a good lesson to show you guys how to construct something. I bent that leaf a little bit, and then I'm going to bend it not only round, but I'm going to bend it back too. See, it kind of gives it some movement, which is fun. This one has some movement here. Let's do something with this leaf. I think we need to bend that one as well. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm just kind of grabbing a hold of it and giving it, I'm using the round nose pliers for the bend part, so it doesn't have too much marking on it. But in nature, things are not flat and perfect usually. So we want to make it look somewhat natural. You know, again, this is just a fun little brooch, but you know, it's kind of cool to get some realism in there. And we bend that stem just a little so it's not perfectly straight like it was. And these leaves are a little low, which is a bummer, but you know, again, as you turn it, you see it. So we're going to still give them a little detail, a little bending, because they will be seen as it's being worn, especially as a pendant, because it may be flipping around a little on there on the chain. So it's good to see. So not only are we doing the brooch finding on here, but we do want to put, we are going to put maybe on the back of this flower a loop or something so that they could wear it as a pendant too. I'm bending these a little bit. So these little leaves will have some detail to them. I'm wondering if we shouldn't try to move them up the stem, but they really are lost behind that flower. It would be kind of cool to have them up a little higher. Maybe we'll try that, and hopefully the whole thing won't fall apart on us. All right, and then with these petals, I want to give them a little bend and a little life to them as well. Why don't we, okay, I want to keep that part flat because that's where we have a head soldered, but maybe we can bend it up. And this is kind of heavy metals here. We used a thicker, we sure did, didn't we? We used a thicker metal for the petals so that we could carve into them a little bit. So it's a little hardier. So I have to use the two pliers to bend that. But I do want a little bend on that petal. Even just, do you see how just even a little bit makes a difference? Do you see how it's got a little bend? And it'll give it a little dimension. We're going to do that as well on this guy here. We just wanted to have a little something interesting. And when you shine it up, you see the dimension. There we go. I got a little curvature there. I'll put a little curvature here. See, it's starting to bend this head. I don't want that. I gotta lift that back up. If it doesn't fall off. Yep, it did. We have to solder that guy back on there. We've just had so many multiple solders that they're just getting a little brittle. Okay, we'll put that guy back on there. All right, but we can still bend our petals and do all that before we do our final solders. This is going to be like those long gamer streams. Both my sons are gamers and they watch streams, and my oldest son is like a sports influencer gamer. He'll do like really long streams, like 5-hour streams. We're not going to do it that long, but this is taking a long time to work on. So this one here, we'll just grind into it because it's hard to access that one to bend. So we're going to bend this one a little bit. These petals here, give them a little life. All right. I'm going to hold this still. Hopefully that little head won't break off. We will see. It did okay. And here. And here. We are almost done, you guys. Thank goodness, huh? Okay. I don't know if you realize how much work goes into all this stuff. Quite a bit. So yeah, we got a little life now in those petals. See, we got a little. I wish that back one had a little bend. Maybe I'll try. I'll use a different pair of pliers. Let's see. It's kind of hard to get in there though, isn't it? Okay. I really do want it to bend though, to have a little life to it. So maybe I'll hold it flat on this side and then bend it. Ooh, can I come from under here? Let's try it with these long nose rounds here. Round nose. I just want a little bit. Yep. Did a little bit. We'll grind it and make it look 3D. So now all we have left to do is we have to do our pin brooch back parts. We want to put those where you can't see them from the front is usually the idea. So the base, let's see. So actually, okay. So the pin part is going to be at the top here because it will go down. You'll have the pin part go down and then clasp at the bottom. So this part actually is where the joint is up here. So we're going to put that guy here at the top on this solder seam actually. So it might be yeah, we're going to heat it anyway. Maybe we'll try to move those leaves first. So we're going to put one there, and then we're going to put the other end of the brooch part down at the base, down here, and that'll be where it goes down to clasp it down. And then up here, we'll put a loop so that the wearer could put a chain through it if they want to. Put that on the back of that flower. Okay, so let's make that part real quick. Now what we're going to do is take this piece of, this is an 18 gauge wire, and it's got a good little bit of thickness to it. We're going to do, that is going to be the part for the chain to go through. So I'm going to grind one of the ends here, and then I'm going to go ahead and make it a good size, because it's a good size brooch, so you want to be able to put a good size chain through it. So I'm going to, let's see, I don't know if I want it that big. That's too big. You got to make it so it fits the flower, of course. Here we go. Give it some 3D to it a little bit so there's room for a chain to go through it. You see that U? I think that would be big enough for a chain to go through. The question is it going to fit on the back of that petal? It's still kind of big. And it goes right to that seam, which is a little scary. I wonder. Again, we're doing design while we're while we're working on this, but I think it'll work. It's got to be big enough so that it can hold a chain. It just has to be, because that's just part of our design challenge, is to be able to make it into a brooch or a pendant. All right, so get our clippers and clip the other side off, and we'll flatten that wire here with our wheel. All right, so here is where, I don't know if you can see that on the back. I'm going to have this here is the idea, if it will not fall apart. We'll put that part here, the chain will go through, and then here will be the top part of the hinge, here is the bottom. So you can see with all these different solders why we need the hard and the easy solder, because we don't want things to fall apart, as they very well may here in a minute while we're working on it. It is a challenge, even for somebody who has as much experience as I do. So this head, you can see where it got a little brittle from all the heating, so I'm cleaning up that edge so it's a nice edge for when we solder that back into place, which was over here. All right, so now what we do is we start, we're going to seal, I think, the seams that we do not want to flow, because we're going to do more of our yellow ochre, make our solution here, and we're going to start covering that up. So this probably is going to, we want to be able to solder here, but it would be nice if the seam didn't move. So we're going to dirty up the back side of the seam and see if that will help us. Here we go. See if that will help us not have things fall apart. I was thinking of moving these leaves up too. I don't know if that's a good idea. We can try it and see. We'll dirty that seam up for the top one. We don't want that to go, but we're leaving this back clean. Okay, now we want to do the back of this flower down at the bottom, because we want to have it clean up here so we can attach the O-ring for the chain to go through. Now we got this little head here, which very well may fall off. I probably should attach that last, but I wasn't sure where things were going to go yet. It was like, it's a work in progress. So let's see, where else was I going to attach? Let's just go ahead and dirty up all these seams, because quite frankly, piece is going to get hot with our brooch findings, and we don't want those to fall apart. So I'm going to keep the area clean that I want to solder on, but on the back side of these seams, I'm going to put some, here we go, put the yellow ochre. We're going to put it on the back of this bud. Well, we don't want the bud to fall off. I think I'm going to put it on the seam here too, because it's away from the clean area that we want. All right, and then we'll go back here. We don't want our name leaf to fall off, so let's do that. There's this leaf below it, the big one that we moved. We don't want the flowers to fall off. I think we want that as is. From the front, let's double check everything. Yeah, we don't want the head to fall off, so let's dirty that up, because we're going to be heating by it. We don't want our bud to fall apart. So see, we're coating all our seams. The heads are pretty well in place. I'm not too worried about those shifting. Just to be safe, we'll throw a little on there. I don't think they'll move, but we'll stick a little on there anyway. Okay, I think we're close to where we want to be. Now let's coat it again. Oh, and there's one other thing. So when you have a little hinge like this, I will show you. These are, I'll hold it with this tweezer or with the plier. Yeah, I think you probably know what a brooch back looks like. You see that? Oh. It has these little things that go back and forth to close the clasp for the brooch. Right? The problem is that solder flows up into there and locks it up. So what I'm going to do is we want the base, the flat part at the bottom, that's what we're soldering. But the top, we don't want the mechanism to freeze up from the solder. So I am also going to yellow ochre paint that guy so that and let the ochre flow down into this joint here. Because I do not want to freeze that up. We just want the bottom nice and clean. I'll wipe that off if I got some on there. We want that clean, but we don't want solder to flow in there. So we did prep that as well. Let's see. It still looks like there's an area where it could go in. So I'm going to put it a little more on there where we don't want it to flow. Okay, just keep that bottom open and hopefully that'll work. We will see. It's always a crapshoot when you're working on this stuff. You never know until it's done. Okay, let's get the flammable things out of the way. Let's coat it again where we want things. We're going to try to move these leaves first. Because, you know, if they don't work, we may just take them off and keep the one. You can't even see them. So what's the point? I don't know. I'm going to flip this over. Coat the rest of it. We're going to coat the pin pieces. Oh, and we need to also coat the part for the pendant to go through and that little head that fell off. Alrighty then. Give it a minute to evaporate. I don't want to have a huge flame on my bench. And we will turn these lights off. I'm going to go ahead and cut some more easy solder. Oh, here's my other one. Cut some more little solder pieces of easy. And we're going to need a number of them. No more hard solder because we are way past that. We want it to go on as easily as possible, hence the easy solder. All right, so there's lots of little small pieces there that I just cut. All right, I think it's probably time now we can light our torch. Just gotta turn on just a little bit. There we go. Give it a little oxygen. Light this guy up here, those pieces. It evaporated, but there's still a little more. All right, let's try. I just put down that piece. So we got the little head, and then we've got the piece for the chain back here. All right, first of all, I want to see if I can move these leaves. If I cannot, I cannot, and that's life. But I'm going to try it. So I'm going to use my second hand friend here to hold it still for me. I still think, let's move these brooch pieces to the side. I'm still going to use my charcoal block to radiate the heat up. And I'm just going to use this to kind of push it down and hold it in place. I don't want it to move. These are the only things I want to move. So here we go. We're going to put a little flux. We want to put flux on the places that we don't want to get dark. So here's where I want to put the chain things. So I'm going to, oops, I got to flip the nozzle there. Sometimes it dries. There we go. I'm going to put a little flux there. I'm going to put a little flux right here. I'm going to put a little flux here because that's where I'm going to put part of my, part of the brooch piece. I'm going to put a little flux over here because that's where that little head goes, and put some flux down here for the bottom catch of the brooch piece. So this is a complicated piece, you guys, and it's kind of fun to show it to you. I'm going to get more heat. All right, I don't know if you can see against the black. I got a good little flame going. Let's see if we can move these leaves. If we cannot, life goes on. I'm just going to heat it with the solder that's already there and just move it. One may fall while the other's being heated, more than likely. If it does, we'll just reattach, and it's already getting dirty, so I don't know if it'll work. But let's try it. If not, we'll just take them off. All right, we're getting it hot now. I just want to move it a little higher. If the whole thing falls off, it does. Oh, here it goes. The big leaf wants to fall. I got this one off. Let's see if I can move it up. Come on, baby. I always joke around. If you talk to it, maybe it'll work. There's so much solder there, I could just move it up. See, this big one wants to fall off. How am I going to keep that from happening? I think what we're going to do is use this clip, and we're going to put it there. If you remember, I told you before, it's a heat sink. And what it'll do is keep that joint from moving. So hopefully it will not move. Let's see. Let's add a little more solder to this joint here for that leaf. All right, and we're going to continue to heat and try to move it. I'm going to hold on to the leaf so it doesn't fall completely. The other one might. And then we'll pick it up and attach. Ah, it's working. All right, the solder flowed. Let's see if I can move it up now onto the, there you go. And the other one didn't move. Yay. All right, now let's get a little more solder for this other one, just to give it a little extra strength, and we'll place that there. Hold on. Okay, now we're going to try to move this one. And luckily the other leaf did move because we heat sink it. Now the question is, will the leaf we just moved fall off? I don't know. Let's see if we can do it. Oh, yep, it sure did. It wanted to. So let me see if I can move this one. We're going to get a little creative here. Will it move? No, come on, babe. It wants to. It just, let's get more solder on it. Oops. Right up the leaf. Okay. Got to get that stem hot. There it is. The stem wasn't hot enough. Okay, we got it right up at the top. Nice. Okay, so let's see if we can get this to go back up. It fell. It's still attached. It just kind of fell. So what we want to do, let me dirty this seam that we just did. Let's see if it'll work. Got it a little dirty there. Okay. All right, now let's see if I can move this guy up. Let's grab a hold of him again. Oh, the whole leaf fell. Doggone it. Look at that. It broke. Okay, so what we'll do then is we're going to let that one go, but we've got this one. And that's okay. We'll just cut that guy off. All right, so we're done with him. But we did move the one leaf up, and then we'll just bend it down. It'll look good. Okay. I don't want to make another one. I think we've got enough leaves everywhere. Okay, so next what we're going to do is on the back of that petal, we want to put the chain part. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take this little U and I'm going to put it on the back of that petal. Hopefully this one will not, the flower will not fall off. And I think what we'll do is some preventative heat sinking like we just did with the big leaf so it won't fall off. And we will move this clip here. And hopefully that will prevent this seam, even though we dirtied it, we still want to prevent it from moving. So I want to watch that flame. I don't burn myself. So I think what that'll do will draw heat away from this seam, but we'll still be able to solder up here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is put a little flux at the end of my little U joint here. And I did do it already here on the flout base of that. You could see on the back of that petal. All right, so next I'm going to attach some flux to the end of these little wires here. You see, I'm just going to just melt it just enough that it gets on the end. All right, and then when I heat this petal, and hopefully this little head won't fall off, we will see. A lot of complicated solders on this guy. If I was at the studio, I'd probably laser them in place and then solder, but you guys don't have a laser, so I might as well teach you how to do it this way. So I'm just going to lay it in the spot, and I'm heating the pedal because it's so much thicker. And this wire is getting hot by association. And hopefully my hand is getting hot from the heat radiating up, but so is the, oh, seeing it melted. Doggone it. Let's make another one real quick. That is the nature of the business. We may still have to go to the studio and just laser it in place because we have so many joints on there. And this is a retail job, so you guys will understand, I'm sure, if I have to use some of those techniques in my work sometimes that you may not have access to, but that's part of it. All right, so we're going to make another U joint here, another U part for the chain to go through. And you can see I have my torch is still going, but I also have it on a stand so that it's safe. You got to keep your eyes on it and never leave it unattended. Never walk away. Always turn your torch off. All right, so now we'll clip that back into the U here. I'll grind those ends down so that they're, all right. Now I do not want to, since I have a live torch, I do not want to bring my boric acid over here to coat this. So, and it's such a small piece, I'm going to go ahead and just use a little flux on it, and that'll keep it clean. So I'll just get it a little warm, and then I'll just put some flux on it, and not just on the ends, but on the whole thing. All right, so instead of heating this, I think what we'll do is go ahead and put the solder on the pedal instead of on the wire. Because obviously, because the pedal is so thick, it needs a lot more heat. So we'll get that started and melted on there, and then we'll add the wire. So let's get some more solder here. All right. Let's place that first where we want it. I'm going to get a good bit of solder. And put one piece here at the top. Another big piece a little lower here. Not as big. I'll add a little more. There's a nice piece. Here we go. Okay, so what we're going to do is melt that on there, and then we will add our U part. And I'm going to add a little more flux to the bottom of these on the U. Okay, heat that up. It turns white, and it will protect it. All right, so we're going to get this hot, and we're going to melt that solder in place. Yeah, see, I just got to get this pedal hot is the problem. Like I said, one place can't go until the whole thing is hot. There it goes. Just hope that the other parts don't fall off. There we go. Okay, so now that it's hot and it's melted, I will put this kind of on the side. It's getting my fingers. Okay, and we're going to get it hot on the plate first and then add the wires. We don't have another meltdown. Because guess what? Meltdowns happen to everybody, guys, not just beginners. Happens to jewelers too. Okay, you gotta wait for it to cool before you move it. There we go. Yay! So we've got that on there. Okay, oh, we do have to put our, yeah, we'll do that over there. Okay, so next what we're gonna do is the U-joint part of our brooch. So on the back of this guy, I'm gonna warm it up a little. I'm gonna put some flux on there. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same for the catch clip part, you know, if you remember the part that has the mechanism for the brooch part. Heat it up a little and put that on the back there. All right, we do need more solder, of course. Of course. Let's get some more. We go through it. Luckily in sterling silver, it's not that expensive, so. All right, so get some pieces cut. All right. This is very riveting, I know. Well, there's moments of excitement and then there's just the grind. Sometimes you just have to push through it. I mean, that's life, right? Okay, so now we are going to go ahead and place our solder here, our flux. To try to keep it clean, we're going to have to add a piece there. We're going to add some up here for that brooch part to go on. Okay, now this little head here is a good chance it could fall off. We'll have to reattach it. Let's hope not. It's good and dirty. And I'm going to put that finding right on that joint, and there's going to be enough solder there. Hopefully it'll hold it on. Okay, so next. All right, here we go. So we're going to put the U-joint up here. All right, so we're going to get some solder. And we need a good bit of solder because it's a good size thingy we're attaching there. Now remember, we've got a joint here that could potentially fall. And maybe what I'll do is do the heat sink trick again. Put that solder down. Let's move this. So, here we go. Whoop, got myself. Yikes. Okay. I really don't want that branch to fall off. If it does, it does. If I have to, I'll go to the studio and we'll start lasering things in place and it won't fall off. But I'm just trying to show you how you do it old school before lasers came into being. Okay, so we want to put that there. So let's pick up our solder again. And we're going to put that U hinge part right here on the same. We're going to put it right up here on this joint, actually. We dirtied it from the other side. Hopefully it'll stay. Okay, so we're heating it enough that getting the solder to stick. Got to go down into place and hopefully not lose a joint. Let's see if it works. It's starting to heat up enough. Here it goes. Okay, good. All right, and this little piece is going to get hot by association. This pen is going to go up and down. We got to be sure that this is facing the right way, and it is. That's something you'll learn in time, but we have to be sure the finding is facing the right way. We don't want to melt it. So we already got the base hot. So we are heating that wire up and hoping that this will solder in place without losing a leaf or a branch. We will see. We will see. Come on, there we go, almost. Oh, it wanted to move, but we got it. All right. Okay, now we gotta do the other one down here and then put on that head, and I think we're done soldering for a while, so that'll be good. Hopefully for the whole thing. All right, so where will we heat sink on this one? The bud is gonna try to fall off too, isn't it? Let's see, what if we put it across two joints? Ooh, that's hot now. All right, we've been doing some work with it, so it got hot on us. All right, what if we went underneath the bud and did this? So we've got two places. Kind of heat sunk a little bit. All right, we're going to solder the hinge right here, the other part of the finding for the brooch. You want to be sure that it's in line because the pin's going to want to be in a straight line, but I think if we did it right here, unfortunately it's where that little CZ head is, and if it falls off, we'll just find another place for it because this is kind of important. You need the latch in the right place. Okay, so let's go ahead and put a good bit of solder there. And we got that other branch that wants to fall too, don't we? Okay, well, let's put this here. We we did put the yellow ochre on everything. Well, let's hope it works. Let's see. Okay, so the solder is there. It's in place. Is it going to melt? Let's hope it didn't get too dirty with all the soldering that we've been doing here. Here we go. Come on, babe. Well, we're using the heat sink and it's definitely working. There we go. It went down. Okay. So now I have to decide which way I want this to turn. All right. The mechanism will go that way. So I'm going to hold it right at the top on one of these little doodads. And, you know, I already put some flux on it, but, you know, I'm going to put a little bit more on the base of this brooch catch. Be sure it's good and clean. All right. Let's see if we can make this happen, you guys. If not, that's okay. We'll take it to the shop and laser it, but let's try it old school here and see if we get this to work. So let's get the solder to flow. Like I said, this gets hot by association. We'll see if we can solder that guy on there. You got to keep it straight in line for the pin to go in it. That's a concern as we're heating it. Oh, it looks like it's going to work. Did it go? Did it go? Did it go? I think it looks like it did, you guys. Yay! Okay, and then we wanted to put the head for the flower. Where was that before? That was over here at the end. Oh man, look at that leaf. Would have been perfect there. Shoot. I wonder if we can just make it so it'll work. Maybe we'll try to move that and then reattach it. Let's do, because that was pretty cool looking. Darn it. All right. Well, let's grind it real quick. Again, it's all a work in progress. You know, you gotta try. I'm gonna grind that flat, and I'll actually attach that leaf to it once I move the base up. All right. We want to prevent the other from moving off, from falling off, so we'll heat sink it right there. Okay. What I'd like to do is move this little piece up, if you remember our one that fell apart. But I really do like it there. I want to try it. If we have to make a new one, we will. So I'm going to grind that edge where it became brittle and broke. So it's nice and metal. Because that goes like this. Yeah. Okay, and we'll put a little flux on this seam because again, we can't put the liver of sulfur there now. There's just too much heat. So, all right, let's see if we can move this little piece of the leaf up. Sometimes I feel like a surgeon, you know, moving all this little stuff. Let's hope the other ones don't move. If they do, they do. I can remove the whole thing, but I would like to see this work. Let's see if we can get it. Again, we can always laser one on. Came off, yay! All right, so let's move it where we want it, up here. Ah, the other one's wanting to move. Yep, oh well. Darn it. Okay, so we're just gonna have to laser that, I think, you guys. There's just too many functions, unless you don't think we need it. Do you think it's too many leaves? Or maybe we just want the one at the end. Ah, I want it to work. Okay, let's see. Let's pull this guy off. Maybe we'll trim it down and just have one leaf. The other ones only have one. I was just going by the picture. Okay, does that stick out too far? I think it might. So if we trim it down, do you think that leaf is too high? What if we brought it down a little, or? Yeah, so what we'll do is we will cut this end off and trim it down real quick. I'm going to just use my cutters. because it's just too tall. That leaf will be too tall. We're going to grind it down with some new metal here. We're trying to do all these solders and get them done. And this leaf was perfect there. So we'll just put the single instead of the 3. Oh, and that one too. Which one do I like better? I think I like this one because I like the way the leaf is going. Okay. So let's flip it over. Get rid of this leaf, unfortunately. Okay. We will put that guy right there. All right. It's still hot. Okay. And it's even bent cool and everything, which I like. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so here we go again, you guys. We're going to put it right on the end there. So, let's see if it'll hold. Maybe what we'll do is heat sink on the stem below it so it doesn't fall apart. Let's see right there. We don't want that to fall apart. We don't want that joint to go anywhere. And we'll put him right here. That way. Okay, so let's put the more flux there. We got the flux on the end of this guy. Let's get some more solder. Bet you didn't realize it took this long to do stuff, did ya? It is a journey, but when it's done, it'll be beautiful. So I'm excited about it. And we're changing things around, but that's okay. Life has changed. In art, I think they call it happy accidents. Sometimes things look better than it would have originally. Okay, so we got him on there. All right, and then we were going to do the flower. Yeah, that's cool. What do you think, guys? See, comes out kind of the side there. That's not bad. Maybe the 3 was too much after all. God's little way of saying, hey, Steph, that might look better this way. And I like it shorter, too. I'm glad we trimmed it. Okay, so now all we have to do is put our little head over here, and we are done, hopefully. Like I said, it's been a journey, but I'm glad it's working out. And I think that little head will look good. Like over here, yeah, we wanted it out to the side. And we're gonna solder it onto that leaf there. So let's add some more flux to our head and our leaf there. And I'm gonna sit that head down for a minute. And I want to put some solder and hopefully he won't fall off. Maybe we should heat sink that. We gotta think ahead, you guys. 2 steps ahead because we don't want to cause more trouble, right? So I think what we want to do is heat sink this joint so the flower doesn't fall off the stem as we're soldering. And we're gonna make it go all the way down to that seam. There we go. See, so we don't have the flower fall off. And we're gonna solder that little head right over here on the edge of this stem. We already put our flux there. I put a little more just to be safe. Because sometimes when the seam is dirty, it doesn't want to stay. So sometimes that's the reason things break, because maybe the seam was a little too dirty. So we're going to go ahead. I want to put it between the 2 petals. I'm only attaching it to one. There we go. But I want it in that joint, in that little space between the 2 petals. So that's what I'm doing. I gotta turn it the way I want it. And I'm doing it, if you can see, from underneath. So I'm having the prongs facing down and soldering from underneath so I don't melt down on my little prongs. As you saw, it's easy to have meltdowns, right? All right, so I'm heating it up because remember the petal is thicker. This little head is lightweight. So you heat the big thing first. The little thing will get hot. There it goes. The little head got hot just by being next to it. All right, I want to get a little closer and be sure it's a good solder. There we go. That's a good solder there. Okay, let's see. Let's see here if it's a good solder by looking at it. We'll turn it over. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, it's on this side. Okay. Yeah, I think it's good. I think I'd like it to be better. So let's do it one more time. Let's add a little more. It's got plenty of solder, but it just looks weird. So I'm going to give it just a little drop on top of it. And when that melts, then I know it's a good seam. Because I want it to build it to last so it doesn't break on the customer. But one thing that I do for my customers, and I've done this forever, anything that you buy from me, if it breaks, all labor is free forever. If you need your ring size 5 years from now, if you need a retipping 10 years from now, I do it for free forever. So customers really like that because it brings people back. And they have confidence buying something knowing, heaven forbid something breaks, I will take care of it. I won't replace the diamonds for free. I mean, you guys can help me pay for those, but all the other stuff I do for free. All right, so I think you guys, we can take a little break. Look at all those dirty seams. Isn't that something? We had so many solders on this guy, but I think it looks good. So when we're working on it, we will see if it holds together, but we can always fix it. But we want to be sure once we're going to put it in the pickle for a little while. All right, we're going to let it sit and get good and clean. And then the next stage will be grinding the details and setting stones. We're going to do some pre-polishing and then final polishing, and I think it's going to be awesome. So thank you for joining me for this section of the brooch instructional video where you're watching me do it. And you can see my little meltdown here that we had. Again, even though I'm a professional jeweler, shit happens, right, guys? So there's that, and then these little leaves that we had trouble with, and you know what, in the long run I think it looked better without them. So that's what we did. So thank you again, and we will talk to you for the next part of our video. So this has been Steph the jeweler at Passing the Torch, a pro jeweler teaches. So keep in touch, and I'll be doing new videos all the time. We've got to finish this guy up. We've got at least one more video to finish him up. Okay, take care. Bye.